Hello there, I want to take you back to the future. What do I mean by that? Well, God declared the future from the beginning. Isaiah 46:10 says, God declared the end of things from the beginning through the mouth of the prophets. He said, surely I do nothing unless I declare it to the prophets, and they declare it upon the people. God told us what the end times would be like from the beginning of times through the mouth of the prophets. I would just want to give you one prophecy, Isaiah 19, and it's concerning Egypt. Let me read the prophecy to you, and you tell me if the Bible doesn't come true and is 100% accurate. The burden of Egypt is what it's called in Isaiah 19. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hands of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up, the Nile River. And they shall turn the river from far away, and the brooks of the bench shall be emptied. That's a mouthful. The river Nile's going to dry up. The idols are going to be moved. Egypt will fight Egypt. He will give them over to a cruel lord. The Nile River will be turned. God will hold the rains from the seas, and it will dry up and be desolate in Egypt. Could that really happen? Or could that be happening right now? Hey Google, could Isaiah 19 actually happen? Could the idols be moved?
Egyptian police say they have recovered an ancient statue of Tutankhamun's sister, stolen during unrest in August. The limestone figurine, believed to be of Ankhesemen, was among hundreds of artifacts taken from the museum in Malawi. Amid the unrest following the overthrow of President Mohamed Morsi, it was traced by police to a coffee shop owner in the Khan el-Khalili Bazaar district of the capital, Cairo. A senior official told the BBC the statue was largely in a good condition. It needed some restoration work, but would go on display in a new museum devoted to the family of Tutankhamun's father, the pharaoh Akhenaten, said Ahmed Sharaf, head of Egypt's museum department. The family of Akhenaten, who ruled ancient Egypt around 1500 BC, would now be reunited, said Mr. Sharaf. The Malawi Museum was one of several ransacked across the country during the riots which broke out as the security forces cracked down on Islamist supporters of Mr. Morsi who were staging a sit-in in the capital, Cairo. Antiquities Minister Mohammed Ibrahim said the 32 centimeters, 13-inch, statue of the girl was one of the most important in the museum. Mr. Ibrahim told the AFP news agency that about 1,050 artifacts had been stolen at that time, of which about 800 had been recovered. Egypt's ancient sites have been targeted by treasure seekers for centuries, with the tomb of the boy pharaoh Tutankhamun famously surviving almost intact. But the BBC's Arab Affairs editor Sebastian Usher says the upheavals in Egypt since the overthrow of Hosni Mubarak in 2011 have helped looters target museums and archaeological sites for ancient treasures to sell on the black market.
Hey Google, could Egypt fight Egypt like Isaiah 19 says? Will they fight each other?
Frightening picture here in America. And now to the other arresting image today, this one playing out overseas. Frightening scenes out of Egypt tonight. Supporters there of the ousted President Mohamed Morsi facing off against the military. Things then turn chaotic, soldiers firing shots directly into the crowd of presidential supporters. And then as the day wore on, all over the city, as you can see, fires breaking out. Tonight, our coverage of the crisis in Egypt as we ask, could this now lead to all-out civil war? ABC's Alex Marquardt is live for us in Cairo again tonight. Alex, good evening.
Good evening, David. It was a tense day here in Egypt that erupted tonight. That anger against the military for ousting the country's first democratically elected president turned deadly, and many here are afraid it could just be the beginning of a bloody wave of violence.
Battles in the streets of Cairo tonight. Supporters and opponents of the deposed president exchanging gunfire, rocks, and Molotov cocktails. The army eventually arrived, but here and in clashes elsewhere, at least 17 people were killed, dozens more wounded. In one city far from Cairo, the army opened fire as supporters of Mohamed Morsi prayed, sending them running for their lives. It was a day Morsi's supporters had dubbed the Friday of rejection, rejecting the military takeover. Earlier, an angry crowd surged toward the military compound they say is holding Morsi, who hasn't been seen publicly since his arrest on Wednesday night. "Hit me here, this man shouted at the soldiers. Then, shots rang out. 3 were killed. Hundreds of thousands of Morsi's furious supporters turned out across Egypt today.
We elected him and we want him back. Morsi is still my president. Morsi is still my president.
It's just this barbed wire that separates hundreds of armed soldiers from these thousands of Morsi supporters. The clerics are trying to keep them calm, telling them to sit down to show that they mean to be peaceful. Things could change very quickly.
The spiritual head of the Muslim Brotherhood, Morsi's party, told supporters to be willing to sacrifice themselves for Morsi.
People are not going to go. They are surrounding the Republican Guard's headquarters until their president is handed over to them, and they will take their president back into the presidential palace.
Neither side is showing signs of backing down, and that could have ripple effects that go well beyond Egypt. Some 2 million barrels of oil pass through Egypt's Suez Canal every day, and the violence there has driven prices up just 7% this week, which could soon be felt at the pump.
Hey Google, could the River Nile actually be turned from far away, like Isaiah 19 says?
The waters of the Nile, a source of sustenance but also a source of bitter dispute. Ethiopia began diverting a stretch of the world's longest river earlier this week to make way for a hydroelectric dam. But Addis Abeba's plans are sparking anger and concern in neighbouring countries, particularly Egypt and Sudan, that rely on the river for water. In Cairo, some residents are up in arms about the possibility that Ethiopia's €3.5 billion Renaissance Dam could reduce their supply. If the Renaissance Dam has an effect on the amount of water we receive from our share of the Nile, then we would consider this to be a red line. It's possible our state would fight, and we're ready to fight for water. In the countryside outside the capital, there's concern that agriculture could suffer and livelihoods might be put in jeopardy, as one farmer explains to Euronews. When they change the course of the Nile, how will we water our plants? How will crops grow? Mohammed Sheikh Ibrahim reports. The restless conflict between the 10 countries in the Nile basin has ignited once again. There are many possibilities as to what happens now, and every state may resort to protecting its national interests, particularly Egypt, which considers the Nile to be a vital artery and also a source of strength and weakness at the same time.
Mohammed Sheikh Ibrahim, Euronews, Al-Qahira.
Okay, Google. God said in Isaiah 19 he was going to withhold the rains from the seas. I Googled you if there's a drought in Egypt, and you told me it doesn't rain in Egypt. They rely on the River Nile for their water. Then I Googled you and said, where does the Nile River get its water? And you told me from Uganda and Ethiopia. So then I said, okay, Google, is there a drought in Uganda and Ethiopia? That would fulfill the text in Isaiah 19. If there's drought, a continuing drought, that God withholds the rains from the sea. What was your answer, Google?
Iya kan baru kediaman, takkan nete. Punya apa apa nak muak kawin muak. Wir nyele lal tanya ba. Kakari ya nyele lenu ya win tinggi nyele tama ya kamar ya nyele le ngotari tamar ya rato anya kunyi ga unya kuya tamar gitu. Apa ye kare jigni aja kan. Apalagi nyabuni jok nyabuni nyeru ko na ta keken kan ka rupan ya tantare buni ngi todo nya gru kilo chogin to kanan karo kilo chogin ne wontornya ko pakana gya eta pitalanya kurecha tamar ni ko ngintanya kurena gai magi pimuna matan lagi dege wadar tanya kar angapa tag nyarotang ta babono tu ya kali Yoko kinchana panai. Ni bore ni dorong nang doya dang. Ara ka gipede ke iya katar. Yoko kinchai. E boy kir bone mane ya kolong aja irano woi bagala par nya kai. Tatama nya ketama ko ngana gilingi. Giliko na ka. Ana pane lo chognor. A tu da daun. Kemalua anak mana itu awaranya kitaran lara lo nyakar ngimga kana kalau bien
Maize is both a food and cash crop in Kasese area. Because of the past favorable conditions, maize growing was among the top crops from which farmers earned good income. The current changing climate has not spared the production. 50-year-old Geoffrey Kanani is a subsistence maize farmer in Kanamba village, Karusandara sub-county. Last year, he planted maize on his 1-acre piece of land, expecting a good yield. But the unexpected prolonged drought seriously affected the yield.
Can you see how small it is? We used to get very big one, long maize and big. So now you can see what I am going to get.
With this miserable yield, Geoffrey will find it difficult to support his family of 8.
Of course, my children may not go to school, and they will get we have a lot of famine.
This brings me to the hard part of the video. The king of fierce countenance. If I said the President of the United States in a writing, when I was writing something, and then later someone else said the President of the United States, who do you think that is? It's whoever the president is at the time, right? We're dealing with the President of the United States. In Isaiah 19, God used the phrase, the king of fierce countenance. It's only used one other time in the Bible. It's in Daniel chapter 8. And he's the one that takes the sacrifice away and tries to destroy the holy people. From all the rest of the Bible, we recognize him as Antichrist. God was pointing at Egypt and pointing in Isaiah in Egypt and pointing in Daniel 8. It's the same person. And if you read Daniel, there's 3 horns that gets plucked up. And the horns are named Egypt, Libya, Cush, Northern Africa. And they will follow him in submission. They're conquered. A war is coming from Antichrist against Egypt, Libya, and Cush. They're going to have to kowtow to him. The Islamic world is uprising. We can see it everywhere it's going. And there will be one leader coming soon, and his name is Antichrist. He's against Christ. He denies the Father, the Son. Christianity cuts their heads off, like the Bible said. Who's doing that nowadays? Anybody doing that? They're doing it as we speak. That's why I said this was hard for me to say. Looking at Isaiah 19, I believe in my heart that each one of those things are happening one after the other in an order. The idols will be moved. Egypt will fight Egypt. And God will give them over to a cruel Lord. He withholds the rain. No, wait a minute. He holds the rains from the sea. Then he gives them over to the cruel Lord. And then the river is turned. The river, the Nile River, will be completely turned in 2022. The Renaissance Dam is due to be completed in 2022. 100% river turned. But Antichrist is supposed to come before, if it is in concession. Before that river's turned, he will give Egypt over to a cruel Lord. This is how close we are to the end. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how close we are. If you don't believe, Jesus said, I have foretold you all things. Foretold you these things, that when it happens, you will believe. And this is my stab at the devil. He attacked me personally. He attacked me physically, financially. He attacked my family. He made me look like crap in front of everybody. This is my payback. If I can convince you to believe, I stole a soul from him by sending you to the one who can save you. Jesus can save. He paid the price to redeem us. I love you, Lord, and I'm sorry for all my wickedness and all my sin. This video is a love offering to you and revenge against your enemy. Your enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm on your side, Lord, and I'm sorry I messed up. I'm on the side of my family, and I'm sorry I messed up. I'm on the side of those I love, and I'm sorry I messed up. I'm really sorry, and I ask your forgiveness. Join me in fighting the serpent that wants to destroy our lives. Join me by accepting Jesus as your Lord. I love you. May God bless you and show you the truth.